All right, guys, welcome back to the Beats by Travis podcast. I'm here with Bruce Bennett. Sorry if I caught you off guard with that clap. I got to throw it in there.
Quite all right. It's like the clapper, like it was.
Yeah.
We take one. Okay,
We just don't buy the thing,
gotcha.
but I think we should. Maybe I'll talk to Ted after this.
It looked cool in front of these cameras to have that clapper go down, and have your guests do the clapper thing. That'd be cool.
It's cool. When I started doing video production, I didn't know that was like serving a purpose. I thought that was like a thing, but now I can totally see where it's like take one, scene two, scene three. Totally makes sense.
Yeah, because I usually don't read those things, but once in a while when you do, it's like, oh, there's a purpose. Other than sounding cool.
And that way I can just hit auto sync and Premiere and it just syncs everything up for me. So, all right, I'm here with Bruce. What's up, man? How are you?
Same old stuff.
We've been
pleasure to finally meet you in person.
I know. Well, we have actually met before, and I was going to tell you this.
Was that one of those times I offended someone?
No, this was a weird one, and I was wanting to bring it up to you because I didn't know if you remembered this, so this is perfect.
Oh, boy.
So,
because I've been known to howl at the moon and chase rabbits from time to time, and so no, not that bad. Okay, good. All right.
I'm an old school bartender. I'd say something. So there was somebody hit me up on Facebook one time asking me to play a salsa gig at La Huerta. Okay. And I showed up, and he was like, "We're practicing at an apartment." And I was like, and I think it was like the Lynx in Springdale or something. It was like an apartment,
okay,
like a Lindsay apartment. And I showed up. And it was a legitimate salsa band, and you were sitting on the couch. You were playing bass, filling in the gig too.
That would have been Evan from Erie Lions. Was he?
This is a long time ago. This might have been 7 or 8 years ago.
Well, that would have been about right. I'm trying to remember.
It wasn't him though. This was
not
a
Evan,
legitimate salsa gig. It ended up getting rained out. It never happened. We had like a practice, and it was like real salsa stuff.
Yeah,
and I was like,
I that's stuff I fake. It's like, you're so versatile. No, I fake really well.
So that's what I showed up the same way. I'm like, a drummer gig around here, I'll take it. And it's at La Huerta, so it's not like a major deal. So I figured I'll be able to hang. And I got there, and I was like, I couldn't believe that we're practicing in an apartment first off.
Yeah,
like we jammed for real, like second floor type stuff. And then it was like legitimate salsa stuff. So I knew that if me and you were locked in, though.
Yeah, as long as we were locked in, we're fine. It's like, you get that phone call, and it's like, Bruce, you want to play a salsa gig? And I'm like, I don't know squat about, so how much does it pay? X. I'm your boy. Yeah, totally. Okay, I'll learn it for,
I'm the same way. Have you always been like that, where you'll throw yourself into a gig kind of not knowing what to expect, but you'll figure it out?
Yeah, what was that? There's a line from a movie, The Great White Hype. I just have this blind, stupid confidence in myself that I can walk in any gig and at least fake it till I make it.
Do you think, so right now you're playing with Ricochet.
Been playing with Ricochet the last 5 years. I say the other main band that people might know me from is a band called Western Justice, which there's been a Western Justice with me in it since 1996.
Okay.
And the drummer in that band came not long after me. There was a Western Justice before me, but I just happened to outlive everyone. True story. And we still play the casinos in Oklahoma.
Are you the last pivotal member from the old to the new?
Yes. Yeah, I am. Yes.
Who else is in that band?
Drummer's named Jim Arnold. His family ran a club over there called J.R. Spanky's in Grove for a number of years. But mostly country bands and whatnot. But me and Jim played together. So obviously since even before that we'd played together, but in the same band. Since '96, since the end of '96, I brought him along when there was a wholesale change. And guitar player was a gentleman named Brad Duval from over in the Tulsa area. And before hooking up with Western Justice, he had played with some of your listeners might know who Gus Hardin is. She won some sort of ACM award for a Best New Country Artist back in the 80s. And he'd played with a number of people. And right now it's kind of in flux because we've got a couple other people rotating in and out, but the three of us have managed to keep it afloat for a long time. And, I was talking with my girlfriend about this the other day for a band that's never had a record deal, Western Justice, done quite a bit of things. I mean, we did 6 years at the NFR in Vegas for
I've heard that name around just doing, like flyers and
it's
working for clubs. I've heard that name around forever.
Semi-famous and more infamous, but yeah, I've been playing with Western Justice for, since '96.
Are you from this area?
Originally, no, but I moved down here in 1988
Oh
to go
wow.
to school, and oh yeah, it's like I'd said on my Facebook page the other day. I graduated from Indiana University in '87, and my parents in '87, as soon as the ink dried in my diploma, moved to Clinton, Arkansas to retire. And if you'd have said in 1987 that within a year
Hmm.
I would be in Arkansas, going back to school and playing country music, I just said seek help because but never say never.
See, were you not you weren't aiming to be in country bands?
No, oh no, I knew two country songs when I moved from Indiana to Arkansas. I knew two country songs and I didn't even know those that well. Elvira and On the Road Again. That was it. I mean, because back then in Indiana, country, you might find it on an AM station, maybe. Now it's the most popular station,
Yeah.
kind of like here. It's like the more popular stations for the most part, are the country ones.
So you moved here, joined up, started playing some country stuff. Were you doing what were you traditionally trying to do, like rock or?
When I went to U of A Law School over here,
Mhm.
and when I got accepted and everything else, I wasn't planning on playing at all. I had a guitar and a bass in my dorm room and would play, and people would come by and go, what are you doing here? Go play that. I'm like, you have no idea. I already had plenty of bad music business experiences. I had no plans on getting back into it.
Mm-hmm.
But the law school has this thing at the end of the year. It's like a festival, and they do skits about the professors and goofy stuff, and then they'll find enough law students that can hold an instrument to put together a law school band. And it just so happened the year I was there, we had a real good guitar player, a real good keyboard player named Jack Martin that played around here for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Very well known in this area, at least.
Totally.
R.I.P. He's no longer with us, but we had a pretty good band, just generally speaking, much less a law school band with the three of us. And it was like, next thing you know, I'm playing in the house band doing Blue Monday jams at the library club, and it's like it's Godfather 3. I wanted out, but they pulled me back in.
Yeah.
And so next thing you know, I'm like, playing with different bands and jams and whatnot, and then wound up playing with a singer-songwriter named Bob Wist, who's still around here, and he'll enjoy me name dropping him. So he'd had a publishing deal in Nashville, writing songs, and one of the first times I went to Nashville was with him to go play the Bluebird,
Mm-hmm.
which
Legendary.
I'm thinking, I didn't know about that. I drove there, and I'm thinking, I drove 9 hours to play in a strip mall. This is ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And then you walk in and you see all these pictures on the wall of the people that were discovered there and writers and everything else. And it's like, holy cow, and then, caught on real quick.
Was this kind of like your first kind of going off into like what would be called like a major music business out of town type thing for you?
No, because, Bob played, clubs and whatnot around here within, certain radius.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really venture that far from that. I mean, I'm sure if, and Bob's goal was he certainly enjoys playing live, but, he's a songwriter first and foremost.
Are you partaking any songwriting duties as well or contributing at all?
Just trying to, if he'd have something, here, can you put something down for this?
Mm-hmm.
Sure I can, and, I'm pretty good about taking direction. It's like, can you make it sound a little bit more like, a little less Peter Gunn, more Walk? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can do that. Sure.
So you're in Nashville. You're at Bluebird.
Yeah, and that's he would go there about every 6 months and play that, and did it for a while.
Were you still in law school at this time? Or?
Yeah.
So you're managing, which I know that's a lot of work. So managing that as well as playing, staying up.
During my second year, one semester during my second year, I DJ'd for a country music station here in Fayetteville.
Oh, wow.
I worked it on weekends for extra money, and one of the midday guys has a heart attack on air, and it's like, well, you've got more experience than anyone else here. Can you do this? I'm like, no.
So then you were just managing a radio show?
So I was the afternoon guy for a semester, and then it was like, I can't do this anymore.
Oh, you're fine. That's
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's another thing. You said I'd been DJing for a country music station because I'd done rock and pop stations and things like that in Indiana and all that. But, I get down here and, because I applied it when KK was, rock station. I applied to hopefully work weekends there. And the AM country guy picks me up, sees my application, says, you've got some experience. Come on in here.
Okay.
And, it's like, I do my first shift like on a Sunday morning and I come in to see him. And he's like, man, you've got a great voice and your segues, you know what you're doing. He's like, but you really don't know squat about country, do you?
I was
I'm
about
like,
to ask
no,
you, Chris.
no, I don't. He's like, and he writes down, Crowell for Rodney Crowell.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, pronounce that for me. And I'm like, well, now I know it's Crowell, but on the air I pronounced it Crowell. It's like, he's like, I heard that. He's like, yeah, you really don't know much country, do you? Nope. But DJing is DJing.
So you just kind of learned on the fly?
On the fly, very much on the fly. I mean, as far as, country is concerned.
Did it make you more of a fan of country music being around that variety of it?
Because right around that time was when, Much Too Young, Garth Brooks comes out, and and that's when you could sense, it was picking up, things were changing. Sure. And plus, you get an appreciation for, some of the history involved. I mean, the guys I play with, for example, in Ricochet, I mean, they grew up with it. They're all from Oklahoma, and they make fun of me every now and then because they know that I didn't grow up with it.
Especially, I can imagine having hits and being on the road, even with other bands, just the years and years being them just conversing with other people in history. I mean, they're kind of like a treasure trove of stories. I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And, some of these people that we've had opportunity to meet, and I've been out there just over the last 5 years, some of them will be in a book soon. We'll get to that later.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, I may have sent you one of those stories. I think.
I read it. So do you kind of take these like as you're in a moment that is something that you might be thinking about 10 years down the line? Do you kind of take the time to
because
even just a mental?
As someone said, I have the ability to make the mundane sound somewhat interesting. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is, but I'm not afraid to make fun of myself, and I'm certainly not afraid to make fun of other people. So and plus just weird things tend to happen.
Just being out on the road, that's one thing I've noticed. It's so weird. I can sit over here in this office and nothing weird will happen, but I can just jump in the car and drive to Jay, Oklahoma, and something will happen. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Different towns, and especially through the Kansas and Missouris and stuff like that.
So you've been to Jay, huh?
Yeah, I'm going there. I'm playing there Saturday for the Lifted Truck
Are you
Nationals.
at Mid-America?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
Jason's,
Yeah, they're awesome.
It's kind of funny because...
What a crazy gig.
Oh, yeah, because Western Justice was probably the first band to play a Jason Robinette party before it became Mid-America. It was just at his house. He literally built a generator just far enough away from his pool so we did not get electrocuted to play a party at his house.
It was crazy. I didn't know what to expect when I went out there. I didn't know that was like a dude's playground.
Oh, yeah. It's just, he just keeps buying land. And next thing you know, it's like, now he's got, the ATV four-wheeler stuff going on. Yeah. But Western Justice was the first band to play a Robinette party. And so, we usually get, a few of those Mid-America gigs a year. And it's, we've played that big stage he's got. We've played that little bar where they set the cups on top of the thing and they fill up from the bottom.
Totally.
All those are fabulous.
I like stuff like that. I think that's like, to me, it's not Americana per se, but to me, that's like the appeal of like getting to live in Arkansas and play these cool parties out in the middle of the country.
It is certainly, capital M, Erica. Yes. It's America.
Anything that's different. I like shows are fun, obviously, and fans, but I like playing like weird stuff where you don't know what to expect, and then obviously sometimes it's bad. I'm not saying at Mid-America, but there are other places. But like things where I didn't know this was going to be like a super family friendly event, or it's a food competition. They give you meal tickets. Or there's like, hey, we got a bed and breakfast that you're going to be staying in. Like all these little caveats and stuff that come along with being on the road is what I always look forward to.
There was, I point this out because we ran into him again recently, but we did a show, it's been a couple of years now, but in Corinth, Mississippi, in a probably an 8,000 seat basketball arena with us and Tracy Lawrence.
Nice.
And, you know, I mean, it was pretty much like an arena show. I mean, you know, 8,000, it's, you know, it's not Bud Walton, but I mean, it was pretty sizable.
Totally.
The next night, for about the same amount of money, we played at a driving range in Alabama. The next night, you know, in front of about 50 people. Same amount of money, it paid the same, but it was like, weren't we just in an arena a night ago?
Crazy.
But, you know, it's like if someone's willing to, you know.
So your position in the band, you play bass. You're not like booking or managing, so you don't know, outside of probably being in that city or playing that venue before, what to expect when you get there.
No, I mean, you know, a lot of the places that Ricochet plays, even to this day, are places, you know, the other guys have, you know, possibly been before. Some not. I mean, there's, you know, this whole resurgence of 90s country that's happened.
Totally.
Because I didn't expect it when I, you know, got involved. Yeah. I mean, I remember, you know, they were going through a phase of, you know, transitioning bass players. You know, they wanted me to join. And it's like, well, you know, can you come here? And I've already got, my name's on a contract over at West Siloam or something like that. I can't do that, you know, and I had to turn him down a couple times, you know, and finally Heath, the singer, calls and says, all right, I know you're not, you know, calls me October 1st, 2018. I know you're not booked October 11th. I'm like, all right, you got me. He's like, all right, so you're going to go to Barberville, Kentucky with us. Okay. You're not going to get to rehearse. Okay. To this day, you know, how many rehearsals I've had with zero. You know, all those shows that we backed up other people, our rehearsal is running down a couple in sound check. That's it.
It's awesome that you guys go in and back up other folks, though.
Yeah, I really enjoy that. You know, of course, you know, you get
to dip a toe into being in a band for a minute and then leave.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and it's like, you know, and of course it's a good payday too. You know, I mean, so there's always that. But you know, I didn't know what to expect. It was a little town in Kentucky, but it was their annual fiesta that, you know, they saved all their shekels for, and you know, a lot of 90s country bands have done it over the years, and this was our turn. And you know, 6,000 people out there, and I'm, you know, and it's like, you know, I'm playing at sound check, and he's like, well, you want the gig? And I'm like, well, let's talk about this later. You've got one other gig booked right now at that point in time. And, you know, fortunately things picked up after that point.
Was it because, I'm not like knocking their hustle or anything.
No.
But like, was it because of the resurgence of 90s country music? Do you
I think
feel
that's got a lot of,
So I was raised on, I know like every single lyric to like 90s country songs that weren't on the radio and stuff like that. And it's in you.
Well, I mean, Heath just signed a, you know, new record deal the other day. I mean, it's the record that's been released. It's some newer songs and, you know, basically the hits, you know, it's called Then and Now, the hits and more. Has the hits that, you know, the 3 top 10s, top 20s, number one, plus, you know, charting with Seven Bridges Road. And then a number of songs that were recorded after the fact, but they're probably maybe 10 years old. I mean, I didn't play on any of them, but, you know, my picture's on the album, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But, you know, without that resurgence, that's not happening.
So you're going, do they like send you the set list and then you're kind of listening to the albums and you're learning and then you show up?
Yeah, that's what, I mean, with Ricochet, yeah, he sent me a set list, and it was like, you know, it was funny because I talked to him for about close to an hour, you know, I'm talking about different things. And, and in the conversation, he had mentioned 3 times, you know, note for note transcriptions of the bass lines, or you can find them on YouTube, you know, note for note transcriptions. I'm like, so I'm thinking, I guess he wants me to know those songs note for note. You know, and it's like, because there's a couple other guys around here that, you know, tour with, I guess, you know, well, one is more of an 80s country act. And it's like, you know, we've talked about the idea that playing a gig like that, proficiency in your instrument is probably maybe 40% of the entire package of being able to do something like that. It's like, yeah, you certainly have to have some proficiency on the instrument, you know, read charts, that sort of thing. But there's so much more to it, you know, the ability to travel, and, you know, it's like a war. It's like, you know, maybe.
Is that something whenever you're thinking about going on the road, are you thinking about more so the traveling, the logistics, what that does to your body more so than you are kind of prepping with the music?
Yeah, because I've had, you know, I'm pushing 60 years old. I've had to make a number of changes. You know, I mean, that knee's shot, and that one's close to it. You know, you know, yeah, you got to watch it. I mean, it's funny because I've had people go to shows different places, and it's like it's not nowhere near as glamorous as what I envisioned. And I'm like, oh, absolutely not. And this is probably
it's usually like a girlfriend. You start dating a girl that's never dated a musician. They're like, let me go with you to a show, and you're like,
oh yeah,
all right, but can you sit here for the next 5 hours, and then the show's over? I play drums, and usually I'm setting up the PA. So it's like, can you sit here for another 2 hours while I pack up this PA system into the car, and then you can set on a snare drum on the way home? So it's like that's my car, that black one right out there. That's what I all my drums in. So it's like there's not a lot of room to where, it is a lot of work. I can imagine, like, I've never went on tours for like 30 days at a time. I think 2 weeks is about as long as I've been out. I couldn't imagine just like that grind of like a.
Well, pretty much the longest I've been out since Ricochet has been about 2 weeks. However, it's like you'll have 2 weeks, and then you might have, then the next weekend you're going to be out for 3 days. It's, lately it's been pretty steady. I got the next couple weekends off, but then, we're back out again for 3 or 4, come back in 3 or 4 more.
How do you balance your gigs around, you're playing with a national act that, whenever they call, you get up and go. How do you balance like your side gigs and stuff like that?
It's not easy because a lot of times we'll get calls, 2 and 3 weeks out for a Ricochet gig, and oh, by the way, there's an addition to the schedule. Oh, well, fortunately, I've got subs for my other gigs. And I mean, it's, not, and sometimes it gets frustrating on the other guys, and I understand that.
It helps being in a big band though. Like
that's what whenever that frustration boils over a little bit, I'm like, look, if you're given the chance, you're going to do it. I mean, look,
totally.
2 weeks ago, I'm playing on the Opry and the Mike Huckabee show. If you'd have told me back in 1987, I'd be playing on the, I'd said, you got your damn mind. Okay. And, for that opportunity, yeah, I mean,
what was the Opry like?
Wow. Yeah, everything you'd think it was. The only negative part of it was that you're doing 3 songs. Next thing you know, it's over.
Mm-hmm. The coolest stuff is always so short.
It's boom, it's done. Yeah. And, there's a number of things you got to see because, there's a house band for the, the Opry. So some of the acts employ that. And, the iPad for the monitor and an iPad for the charts right there. It's like, sit down and just crank them out. Great stuff.
Awesome.
And, but the one thing you notice first and foremost is that crew that works there. It's obvious they've been doing this more than a day. And I mean, it's shuffle in, shuffle out. Do you need anything? I mean, it was just that easy.
I'm going to Nashville in October, and I haven't been since I was a kid. And I was looking at the Opry schedule and like how often they have shows and turn it out. It's almost every day.
Almost every day. And well, there's a morning show and there's an evening show, and there's 4 or 5 acts on each. And and some of them are like, oh shoot, who are the old school cowboy act? Riders of the Purple Sage.
Right. Oh yeah.
Or
Riders in the Sky.
Riders in the Sky. Yeah, yes, they were on. They were on the night we were there.
Awesome!
They're 90 years old doing this.
That's crazy.
And they're on like every.
That's what I was like raised watching that, and like what's had like Grandpa Jones or whatever. Yeehaw.
Yeah.
So like around those days, Smothers Brothers and stuff like that. My parents are a little bit older, so
well. See, when I grew up, I would. My only exposure to country when I was younger was watching Hee Haw, and of course, you're a kid in Indiana. You're a kid in Indiana, and most of that stuff is just so hokey to you. But it's like, now looking back at it, it's like
now I watch Roy Clark videos where he's like ripping, almost looks like metal.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Metal riffs on a banjo.
Plus you had Buck there, and you start going through Buck's catalog, and it's like, wow. And some of the people they've had on that show too, it's like, pretty cool to watch. It used to be filmed in Tulsa way back when.
Really?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
There's still a few guys, over in that area that, played on the show or played with Roy or something like that. But, the main thing you see from the Opry is just how efficient it all is. I mean, it's just like,
well-oiled
machine. Get them in, get them out. But, you don't feel like, you don't feel like the kid in A Christmas Story. You put your eye on that thing, kid, and get kicked back down the slide. It's just like, what, anything you need? Can I get a stand for this? Yeah, sure, fine. Bam, stand, and out. It's just that efficient.
Let's talk about, earlier we were talking about setting your own value as an artist, and like, how do you value yourself, your time versus like efforts of what you want to do? Because a lot of times,
so tough. I mean, that is so tough because we were talking earlier about pay of venues, and in some areas it's some areas it's here, some areas it's there. Around here, we're talking about playing private parties, and I play a lot of casinos.
Totally.
But there's pros and cons to playing in casinos. I mean, not that much of a con to me, but it's like oh gee, I want to play Thursday night from 8 to 12. That much? Yes, all right.
Yeah, totally.
Man. And because I'm technically a vendor. They consider me a vendor because, hey, you want your W-9? Here you go. Here's your paperwork. Here, I'll sign the contracts. I'll do all that stuff. I'll scan it in and out. And
if you're cool with it, and it's eaten up some of my friends where they're like, I don't, everybody plays music differently. I play drums, so I'm not singing. I don't care. Yeah. So I'm down to go play drums for a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time. I could imagine if you're singing or if you got your own songs and stuff, how it might not be the thing. But if you're down to exchange your time for money,
I don't want to be the face of any franchise. That makes life a whole lot easier.
This is the only thing I'm willing to do where I'm going to talk on a camera. Everything else, I'm behind the scenes stuff.
I don't mind. I love doing this. I love the sound of my own voice. If you haven't figured that out already, but I'm also usually my least favorite topic. But I get caffeinated in the morning.
You're doing good right now.
Yeah, I do all right. But yeah, it's tough to do that because I mean, I used to live in Lowell. I live in Grove, Oklahoma now, but I used to live in Lowell, so it wasn't that big a drive to a JJ's or something like that to play for $50, $100 or something like that. It's not that big a deal. The idea of driving to Tulsa to play for that much anymore probably won't happen, except if Tulsa's music scene's a 180-degree difference from here. And I'll go over to the Cimarron on Sundays and be the guest star for their afternoon jam over there, and it's a very cool thing, and it pays off.
Is that in Tulsa?
Yeah,
I like that market.
Yeah,
spent some time there. That's a different type of music market.
It is different. I mean, but still, it's pretty diverse. I mean,
it's incredibly diverse, and everybody
it's like
it's very collaborative.
Nothing but country. No, there's not that many country bands over there now. And, and I go over there and play those jams. You have to do some country over there just because it's easier to find a consensus among players. What are we going to do? Well, let's just do this. It's 1-4-5, go.
I know about 100 rappers in Tulsa. You know what I mean? When I was there, that and like pop artists and stuff, it's very more like here we don't have a lot of solo artists. There'll be like somebody with a guitar or something, but they won't be like, I sing. And I have songs, and I just need a DJ. Like, we'll see that from time to time. They have full shows with, like, 7 or 8 people on it, and they'll have, like, 4 or 5 songs, and they're releasing albums. It's not like it's, like, a showcase or, like, one of those bringer shows where nobody brings anybody, and they're just trying to, like, fill it with musicians so they can...
Which is weird. You'll have a rap show where 7 or 8 people on stage, but then you'll have some pop acts where there's 2 guys and a laptop, and here you go.
It's really... And it's... I don't know. It's not as like a wedding, like where somebody's just playing the karaoke song and then they're singing over the top. They're like real artists. They got little dances and stuff. They'll come out, and I'm like, it's just something. I think it has to do with obviously it's a little bit different type of city, like literally more of a city. So there's a little bit more of that. But I'm surprised that, and this is talked about all the time, that there isn't more like country acts though, out of Arkansas. Or even that Tulsa area.
No, and not so much anymore. No, just that there's so many other things going on over there now, and one thing over in Tulsa, of course, Tulsa is certainly a bigger city than say Fayetteville or around here. Although this little metropolitan area is,
if we were all together and not 4 or 5 different types of towns that make a greater area,
Yeah.
it would probably be a little bit
Probably
different.
closer to that because there is an open jam night every night somewhere in Tulsa, somewhere. And I mean, I know guys that play, do well playing 3 and 4.
I've gone on stage
a
twice,
week.
just being in town.
Oh
Get
yeah,
up here. Like it's
yeah.
not like
Oh, you played? Come on, yeah.
they're down.
I mean, yeah. It's just I guess it's just I've been around long enough to where it's like, oh, hey, come on up, play, and then it's like, hey, we need to fill in for this. You want to come over? Well, it's a little bit easier to living in Grove now. I can drive an hour and 15 minutes.
So do you have, I mean, not like a set number, but do you kind of wager in how much time? Do I have anything else going on this evening? How far do I have to drive? Do I need to get a hotel room? Is it going to be fun? Is this the things that you wager in?
Yeah,
or do
absolutely.
you kind of have like a set number where you're like, I like to make $400 a gig?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's your E equals MC squared of it. It's like, amount of time I have to drive versus how much am I getting paid versus am I going to be, are my shoulders going to be dislocated by carrying these people? Is it going to, am I going to have to like, woodshed some songs? I mean,
I get hired to be the good musician in a band sometimes.
That
and
happens,
that's
yes.
like and that's fine.
Sure.
You're like the structure person. You're like,
Yes.
all right, we're going to end the song like this. Everybody hear it? Cool. We're going to do it like this on Saturday too, right? All right, cool. It's all it is. It's not like you're like,
and you're going to play
musical genius.
Here we go. Yes. This is going to be 1-4-5. And towards the end, I'm going to play this real linear fill. That's going to let you know we're going to end this thing. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, I rehearse. Can you spell that for me? Because I wish I'd had more chance to rehearse.
You're probably playing more stage time than most people spend rehearsing and playing.
True. Very. Yeah.
Because you got about 12 hours in a weekend sometimes, I would imagine. So like whenever you're doing that, I mean, I think about, all right, so a headlining act will play, I mean, I'm just throwing out a band, like say Keith Urban goes on tour, he's going to be playing an hour and 20 minutes to an hour and a half on his headlining set. So it's like you just now knocked out 6 to 8 shows of stage time for a national act playing, like at a casino for 3 or 4 hours or something.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's another thing too, because it's like one thing I didn't know is like a lot of those places in Nashville. I mean, when you're playing 8 to 11, you're playing 8 to 11.
There's no breaks?
No. At a lot of places. I mean, there are some that do that, but I mean, some of them I've been to. It's like you're playing 8 to 11.
If you got to go pee, it's the first thing I always think of.
And then hopefully your singer knows an acoustic tune. Yeah, but
it's usually when Bluebird comes in, that Bluebird "Seen in the Dead of Night" song comes in. That's
there
for
you
some
go.
reason that's all my bands go to.
I get that, but yeah, it certainly is like an equation. It's like, well, how far am I gonna have to drive? How much am I gonna have to work to, because usually someone sends me a set list. I always say, my batting average is usually about 85% with most of what people do. Every now and then you get something. Some quirky song that's like, some quirky chordy mess that you've got to, I'm gonna have to read this one because
you still get nervous when you go up in front of a couple thousand people?
Not near so much anymore. Although I will say, the Opry, that was probably, it was the first time I was like
nuts. That's like production though. That's like lights and cameras and stuff. That's a whole different thing.
But if you see the one video that's on my Facebook page, because it's just a clip, they introduced the band and Heath, the singer, was talking about, he's like, this is about the 10th time I've done the Opry, and I'm, I must admit, I get nervous every time, but I'm not near as nervous as this guy over here. This is my bass player, Bruce Bennett's Opry debut. That? Yeah, and points over to me, and I'm just like, and the crowd kind of like cheered a little bit and stuff, and some guy was pointing at me, and pointing back. After that, I was fine. Up to that point, I was,
It's crazy how like whenever somebody calls out an incredibly what would be the worst and most embarrassing moment that you're afraid of, how it kind of like.
I don't know if he intended it to like break whatever ice might have been going on in my head, but it worked. After that, I was like, all right, this is gonna be cool.
We did a festival. I'll talk and I'll say something when it's time to say something. I'm like, hey, I'm tuning, say something. Hey guys, go to the website. But I don't like a lot of attention being on me because I don't like singing or anything. So I remember we did a festival and there's probably about 2,500 people there. And our singer was like, it's his birthday. And Tim, like 3 times in a row, was like, Tim Warden was like, it's his birthday. Let's sing it to him again. And I was like, oh my God. It was like so embarrassing. And saw it was embarrassing. So they doubled down on it. It's, I miss playing those big shows though. It's like the production and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Especially
yeah.
playing songs that people have raised, like grew up on and stuff. And they know all the words.
Yep.
People are like so grateful.
Yeah, let's see, where were we a few weeks ago in North Dakota, of all places? But it was like, who else? It was us and Neil McCoy and Dina Carter.
Incredible performer. He's probably my favorite country music performer as far as like being hilarious.
One of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. In fact, the guy whose place I took in Ricochet playing bass is Neil's monitor guy now.
Really?
Yeah, because he's, he's great friend of the house, great audio guy. And someone landed
watch
a gig
YouTube
with
videos of Neil McCoy just like stopping the band and then going around and just holding court for 20 minutes and dance parties with his crazy awesome band.
Oh yeah, and
like just so many things.
Oh yeah, what was the song he pulled out he did it during his show too, but he pulled out during sound check, and I was just like, that's just. And I can't remember the name of the band. It was a 60s song, but it's been remade a number of times. I love you more today than yesterday. I love you more today than yesterday. He pulls that out during his sound check, and I'm like,
I've heard him rap. I've heard him do like Old Town Road. I've heard him do like so many things that you wouldn't expect.
Well, because he was the one that started doing the Beverly Hillbillies rap initially. That's where he started doing that first.
Oh man, I haven't thought about that in a long time.
Yeah,
but
he started doing that originally, but he's just. Yeah, I'm still doing it.
It's cool that he wins like Country Music Entertainer of the Year. Like later on, he's not even releasing songs like.
No, hadn't released an album in years, no record deal, but he's out there doing it and winning awards for it over established glitterati.
I remember he was at the Amp, and I told my buddy Chris, I was like, "Watch this, dude." And he goes, "Who is this?" Because he wasn't raised on country and stuff like that. And I was like, "This is about to be the most entertaining set of the night."
You'll watch a few thousand people in the palm of this dude's hand. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
Totally, I love that stuff. Chris Jansen did the same thing. Kind of reminded me of that a little bit. That type of energy.
Yeah, I haven't seen him yet, but I know
he came out sprinting, playing harmonica, jumping on top of it. This is like in the first 2 minutes of being on stage, going absolutely nuts. Jumped on a piano and started playing like Jerry Lee Lewis.
Wow.
I was like, hold on a second. Who is this guy? This is had that song and then that. And I was like, this guy's an absolute nut. And every time I see something now, he's like doing something absolutely crazy.
I was watching something last night, video of Hardy's intro. And, of course, I'd heard the song he did with Lainey Wilson, and one other song that was, very, very country. And his intro was like Metallica level, distortion lights and stuff all over the place. I'm like, oh, okay. All right. I might have to go see this now.
Yeah, there's some metal production, and there's some bands that I saw that had I want to say it might have been Morgan Wallen's band. Somebody had full on, you could tell, old school metal dudes, because they're sitting doing little breakdowns, and they got their.
If you go see Eric Church, his guitar player is Jeff Cease. That was the original guitar player from Black Crows.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Who actually lived around here for a little while, way back in the 90s. But
that's crazy.
How he wound up here, I'm not sure. But yeah, he lived here for a while. But after the Crows gave him the boot, but then he went over to Nashville.
It's crazy. How do you find that whenever, being in the touring bands, there's the networking? It's a lot easier to do.
Yeah.
There's people they're in the business working, so they're not trying anything. They're doing stuff. So.
Yeah, it's, because I was talking the other day about the idea that, when I say I've, met these different bass players, but, if you're going to do that, you probably ought to be a student of the game. Because, you're going to know who all the studio players are over there, but there's guys that have been on the road with different bands, different people for years and years that are also incredible players. There's... Keith Horn, he's not in Nashville anymore, but, played with, this guy's just monstrous. Now, he's got to restrain all that. You're not going to play with Trisha Yearwood and just,
yeah.
You can't do that. Or Scotty Simpson that plays with the Oak Ridge Boys now, played with Travis Tritt for 15 years before that. I got him on the phone. And it's like, what's up? And he'll call me every now and then. He's, just like, because I'm not part of the Nashville, that whole
Oh
scene.
yeah.
I didn't come from that. There's, every now and then you get something like that.
What is that scene like? What are the
boy, there's some guys over there that I know that, that they go out and tour with different people, but they live there. So they're playing there all the time. And, you want to talk about dog eat dog. And it's just definitely a,
really competitive?
yeah, and a process, and I mean, they get along pretty well. Don't get me wrong. I mean, once you can establish yourself as a player, you can probably work as much as you want to,
Mm-hmm.
but there's definitely a code and a protocol, and I see it all the time.
Are they likely to keep like outsiders out or try to?
Well,
Like if you're like super good and you move in there, I'd imagine.
well, if you're gonna move, if you're gonna move there and ingrain yourself in that system, I tell people a story. One of my first trips to Nashville was a singer that I play with every now and then. It's from here. Bought studio time over there, and so he took the band over there. And we recorded 3 songs, and there was a guy that was living over there that was from Springdale. Played drums for John Anderson for a number of years, and he was taking us around town.
I think I know his son. I'm friends with him. Treat.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Shoot, what is his son's name?
Nigel.
Nigel. Yes. His dad was taking us around
Yeah, I
Nashville
met him a few times.
and different places, and he took us in this one bar off Printer's Alley called Skulls. And it's like at that time anyway. I haven't been there since, but it was like one of the dirtiest, dankiest places, but the owner of the bar had pictures with him with every conceivable WWF wrestler. So I'm thinking I might be at home.
Yeah, now you're talking.
But I look up at the stage and you see this beat up old tweed Fender amp with a beaten up Telecaster leaning up against it, 4-piece drum kit. And the only reason the guy had a floor tom was because that's where he set his ashtray and his drinks. And bass player sitting on a regular chair, first series Music Man bass amp with a PBT 40 leaning against it. And I'm like, this is going to be quite a show. And then they get up there and it's like the drummer looks like an accountant. The guitar player's this pudgy redheaded guy wearing little, those little caps, like a Scully cap.
Mm-hmm.
And the bass player looked like a throwback, an anachronism to like the outlaw days, wearing a leather vest with a denim shirt underneath it and a cowboy hat with a quail's ass on the front of it, and long, stringy, greasy black hair and mustache. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be something else. They got up and played the baddest 3-piece Western swing you would ever hear in your life. And it's like, oh, well, that's Red Volker that's been all over, toured with Haggard for years and years. And he's just playing like that whole quasi jazz stuff, and every song was ride across the front. Here's this guy playing through this crap equipment. And it's just like, it's just almost Jocko-esque, him soloing over these chord changes. Is there a lot
of like in the Western swing and in the country stuff, is there a lot of jazz influence on the bass and stuff kind of at the bed of it?
In a lot of instances, yeah. Chromatic, movements between chord changes
Walk
and things like that,
whatnot.
and walks and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I can quote you a number of examples, but yeah, you obviously know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, because I was raised. I mean, I literally threw on like Randy Travis songs and played over the top of them from the age of like 5 to like 10. So that's literally, for a long time, that's all I knew was country music. So like in the 90s in particular, just because of how old I am. So the first thing I noticed is like the bass, weird bass lines being super. There's like styles, if you go to like blues and different pockets of music where there's like there's this language in there that's kind of embedded in that particular genre. That's something that I like about country.
When I got, the ultimate story of being at Skulls was, I'm sitting there with Mason watching these guys, and he had said, yeah, well, the guitar player, he'd been out with Clinton Gregory, I think, at that point, and I don't know who the drummer had been with. And I'm like, well, what about the bass player? Because that guy's just, smoking. He's like, just talk about prophetic. He's like, he never mastered the fine art of not being an asshole. So you got a guy who can play like that.
Just got to get him on the stage.
But if you're an insufferable jerk, to be with on the road or whatnot, like I said, it's proficiency 40% of the total thing.
It's crazy. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, out of all the band members I have, nobody is like rude to one another, and
Mm-mm.
everybody's like, they're even nice to one another when they see each other, just because they have people that are in multiple bands and stuff. But I
Oh yeah,
think, but most of the bands I've been in for like 10 to 15 years. So like, the thing that makes a band work will always be there. You're just being nice and know how to
sure.
kind of work around each other and stuff like that. But that's something when I see people putting bands together, and you can put a cool concept together. And I do this all the time. And then you filter through, you got to find like the right
Yeah,
people.
because I mean, it's not always the guy that can play 30-second note triplets at 210 beats a minute. That's
Hmm.
the guy that fits. I mean, there's always that element. But it was like
Some people's
that's
job.
it's one of those words of advice that I always it's like you've never mastered the fine art of not being an asshole. I try. I don't know. I pretty well figure most of the time I'm not, but
Before we
it's
wrap
amazing
this
how
up,
that.
would you say that because the fact that you are willing to just put yourself out there and go try new things, do you feel like that has a lot to do with why you're in the position that you're in now, that you didn't see yourself being in, where you're playing in front of thousands of people and touring with a national act?
Yeah, there's. I would, yeah, because there were, with Western Justice for many years we would play anywhere from 90 to 100 dates a year.
Hmm.
That's pretty good. But then when the honky tonks started slowing down, and casinos were more or less taking away a lot of those, you couldn't, because some clubs, have you in once a month or 6 weeks. Casinos, it's not necessarily that much. You're going to be in once a quarter, maybe,
Hmm.
maybe. So, that spreads out a little bit more.
Casinos pay
Um,
better than the gigs that they replaced, the honky
um,
tonks and stuff.
yeah, for the most part, yes. Plus, they're easier. You're not, those gigs, we're toting PA. We're toting, casinos, you show up at your back line.
They don't want you to promote it either, so it's
No,
like you don't have to really.
no, the only
You're
work
not on the
is
line to get anybody there.
show up an hour and a half before, plug in, have a sound check. I mean, we've been playing so long at West Side alone. It's like, yeah, we'll get there at 7:30 for a 9 o'clock show. But I
Totally.
mean, sound guy will get there, at quarter till 9. It's
That's the
like,
easiest casino gig ever.
that's $1 million PA too. It's a long story, but I'm vice president of the company that has that
Oh,
contract, but
nice.
only because I just did the paperwork for the sound guy. But yeah, because he was saying it's like, yeah, we're loading everything in and out. They replaced it. It's
Is that one of Paul's gigs?
Paul
Paul.
Paul Wills.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the president. I used to be the president. Now he is. Yeah,
Nice.
Paul was Western Justice's sound man
I
for
just
a
know him
number
from
of
Mid
years.
America, and then see
Yes,
him into other
and he
things
does
too.
that gig too now. Yeah. Paul and Jimmy, the drummer from Western
Hmm.
Justice, we're like brothers, but we're like the brothers that's like, boy, I really like to pinch his head off sometime from
Hmm.
time to time. Now Sam Duncan that works for Paul, Sean Sanders, those guys.
Those dudes,
Oh shoot, but there's Kelly
those dudes
Emsley.
are awesome.
All, Paul hires well.
Hmm.
Paul hires better than Paul, but
I mean, yeah, Sam hit me up this weekend. He was like, "Hey, man, we need a band." He goes, and it's working with Paul, so I know the sound's going to be good.
yes,
I know that the gig's a real gig.
yes,
And then he says at Mid America Outdoors, so I was like,
yeah,
I already know what to
yep,
expect. So, well,
yes.
man, thank you for coming on
You
here
bet.
and sharing some stories. Like I said, I definitely want to have you on in the future, but I just wanted to kind of sit down and talk to you because I know that we've worked in the same orbits forever. So,
Yes. Well, it's like, there's a lot of bass players from this area that, like, I always use this example, Dwayne George from the George Brothers.
hmm.
I've known Randall forever. I never met Dwayne until a few years ago because most of the time, if you're at a gig somewhere, there's two bass players in the same place at the same time. There's not a need for one of you, you know.
Yeah,
And it's like I'm always out playing, so I'm not seeing him, and he's always out playing, so he's
bass
not seeing
players stay
me.
busy too. Like I mean, it's
Well,
like drummers too.
it's
Working bass players are hard to find.
yeah, my, it's like my phone doesn't stop ringing. I mean, and I don't think it's. I guess at this point it's like I can walk into most of the gigs around here and do it, but a lot of them I've done before. Um, it was a few years back that I was playing with somebody and they said, "Well, they have this Arkansas Country Music Awards.
Hmm.
You should put yourself out there, see if you can get nominated." I've never been nominated for. I'm playing with national acts, and I've never been nominated once, so I'll
Yeah.
just let that speak for itself. But it's like, all right, here's my stump speech, and I started thinking about it. It's like the year that I did this, I played 108 gigs in the course of that year, spread out over 15 bands. And then ended the year playing with Ricochet. It's like, well,
that's the most Arkansas Country Music Award deservingest
you'd think
stuff.
Not even a nibble. Not even a nibble. I don't care. It's, it's like, just point me to the next gig.
Yeah, totally.
I don't need that.
I'd rather do the things that gets trophies than to get the trophies themselves.
There you go. I don't need that validation. Just pay me.
Just trying to keep playing drums. That's all I'm trying to do.
Send me a set list and pay me. It's
Well, man, thank you for coming on and chatting.
Yeah, anytime.
Appreciate it.